stop. Exit the traffic, turn off your engine, and tune in to words that will ease your mind.
Hello, everybody. This is Joe Whitinger, and I want you to listen to something just for a moment.
Can't nobody do me like Jesus. Can't nobody do me like the Lord. Can't nobody do me like Jesus. He's my friend. Oh, I said can't nobody do me like Jesus. Can't nobody do me like the Lord. I said that can't nobody do me like Jesus. I said that he's my friend. Oh, let me tell you that he healed my body. Then he told me to run on. I said he healed my body. And then he told me to run on. I said he healed my body. And then he told me to run on. Everybody say he's my friend. Can't nobody do me like Jesus. I said that can't nobody do me like the Lord. No, they can't nobody do me like Jesus. I want the world to know that he's
Now, you have to admit, you probably wanted to start dancing or your foot started tapping on the floor. That song was sung by Andre Crouch, and a lot of his songs are just those kind that just get you to really move, you know. And that's what I want you to do today. I want you to move out of unrest into rest. And I have something real special for you today. I want to read to you a prophetic word that God gave to the group that I gather with. And this word goes like this. This is God speaking to us, and I want you to see God speaking to you in these words. Do you think what you want is not what I want? I'm the vine and you are the branches. I'm the vine and you are the branches. I want you to dream big. Dream bigger. Your dreams are my dreams. My dreams are your dreams. I'm the vine and you're the branches. We come off the same source, and our dreams are connected, and we are together. So dream big. Don't dream little. Plan for big things. Don't think this is just a pipe dream. No, I'm your father, and no dream is too big for me. Dream big. I want you to think for a moment about dreams, because daydreaming, not so much the dream that you might have when you're asleep and you wake up and you try to figure, well, that dream from God or this dream or that dream. I'm not talking about that kind of dream. I'm talking about something that we would call daydreaming. Your mind is moving rapidly. And it's always thinking, it's always active, it's always doing things. And it's interesting, I have discovered what scientists have discovered, and those that study the mind and toxic thoughts and how a person thinks and all this kind of thing. They've actually discovered that daydreaming reboots your mind. It's like, when you kind of drift away, you're doing something and you drift away. And that type of drifting that we would call, or daydreaming, actually is good for the mind, and it gives it a moment to rest and actually re-energize. So with that thought, I'd like you to daydream with me. And I want you to take that deep breath and just kind of let it out slow. Do it again. There you go. And I want you to dream not having any debt. That you have no debt whatsoever. There's no monthly credit card debt. There's no car payment. There's no house payment. You owe no one anything. Now take a deep breath, let it out, because I want you to begin to dream about that. One of the major, if not the major, things that take us out of rest is worrying about money. Worrying about if I have enough to cover my bills next month. Fear about your financial security in the future. If you have kids at a certain age, or you're worried about them having money to go to school, go to college. Fear about retirement. You might be at an age where you're thinking about retirement. Do I have enough money to simply retire? We think about job security. Will I lose my job? There's other type of worries we have, of course. Some worry more about relationships or your health. I even heard people worry about wrinkles on their face. Now, I know that is probably something there, but if wrinkles are there. But I mean, what I'm really worried about is, do I have enough to make it? Do I have enough money? Do I have enough supply to make it? It's interesting, the pandemic happened and people were moved by fear, and they felt that toilet paper was a key element in making it through this pandemic. It's real amazing about fear and what it can do to us and how it makes us behave. You remove fear and all of a sudden you're not worried about those given things. But I want you to think about and dream about, not just thinking about, but dream. Take a moment. What would it feel like not to have any debt? What would it feel like no car payment? And not you're driving some junker that's barely making it, but to have no debt whatsoever. Well, that's what I want to begin to talk about. Not just in this short time that we have together, but maybe for the future in a while, to really begin to dream about never having any debt. Now, when I talk about money or I talk about debt, we seem to shy away from it. We don't want to talk about money. We sort of live in a fantasy that possibly I'm really in debt, but I don't want to acknowledge it. I'm just thinking that it's going to go away. And so one of the hardest things to do, I know, especially with a married couple, is to sit down and go over a budget. And budgets are very easy, very simple. What you do is that you write down your income, all the money that comes into your hand, whether it's jobs, side jobs, interest rate, some interest on savings account, whatever, the amount of money that comes into your hand on a regular basis, not wishing for someone to give you $1 million or winning the lottery. What comes in? That's on one column. That'd be on the left-hand side of a column. Then on the right-hand side of the column, write down all your expenses. What you pay for a house payment, what you have for car payment, insurance, utilities, what you average food, all of that, possibly clothes, and really be honest. See, this is a key element about this, is being honest about it. And when you sit down, you begin to see that if you have a certain amount of income, the total of that, if it exceeds your expenses, then you're doing pretty good. But if the expense side is higher than your income, then you have to begin to make adjustments. A budget. A budget is much like going to a doctor possibly and letting them give you a physical. We don't seem to want to do that. We pretend that everything is okay. Now, I said dream that you're out of debt. That's part of it. But to really see the dream become a reality, I'd like you to be honest with yourself about your finances, because God really wants you not to be in debt or to owe anybody. I want to read this scripture. It's in the letter that the Apostle John wrote. It's the third letter that's left with us. And he said in this letter, he said, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. Above all things, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." Now, what he's saying here is that God's will for your life is to prosper. This is his will. This is his desire. No father that ever thinks about his children and thinking like this, "Oh man, I hope my kids just fail and everything." Be great for them. They'll learn things from that. It'll teach them a good lesson. I want them to just fail or have no money in their pocket, live in complete poverty. I think it'd be wonderful if they just lived that way. If a dad thought that way, and a dad even said that to his kids, you would know immediately that dad, there's something wrong with them. Never in my wildest dreams I ever wanted my kids not to succeed. Well, the scripture says, above all things, the Father desires that you succeed and that you prosper. So, in doing this, you have to begin to really not pretend anymore. So, as I started this by having you dream with no debt at all, and to really know that this is the will of God for your life, is not to be in debt. Debt is slavery. You're a slave to those that you owe. Even in times, biblical times, when you got into debt, you had to go to work for the person you were in debt. If you couldn't work, they'd put you in jail until that debt was paid off. So you weren't able to do it, so other people would have to come along and pay the debt so you could get out of jail. Slavery basically began in the sense of being in debt, that I owe this person, I got into debt, whatever and however, so I'm a slave to them. We're living in a situation, a society, that we're not so much in debt to an individual person or a slave to an individual person, but we're a slave to a bank, or we're a slave to credit cards, we're a slave to mortgage payments. We're owing them, and so when you owe somebody something, you become a slave. The will of God for your life is to be free, and he desires that you get out of debt. His will is for you to be out of debt, because he wants you to be free. You're not to be a slave to anybody. You're a free individual. He gave you a free will. Now, by decisions I make, I can actually put myself into slavery. And I put myself into slavery by going into debt, using credit cards and so on to purchase things, and I go into debt. Now, don't get shy away from this, because this is something that's very exciting, because I'm going to tell you about how prosperity begins. In that scripture I read, it says that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. He's actually attacking the two highest items that bring worry in your life, and that's money and your physical health. So God is concerned about that and your health, and he says it begins in the soul. It begins in the realm of the unseen. When we begin to think that prosperity is simply having a lot of money, if I had more money, then I'd be happy, or if I had more money, then I would be at peace. And this is not true. Absolutely not true. Jesus even said, what does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? And that word that Jesus said has been illustrated over and over in lives of people that you and I know that had all the money and all the popularity and even health and beauty, and yet they committed suicide. I cannot help but think of the famous comedian Robin Williams. He was such a famous man and well loved. I don't think anybody was ever mad at him or spoke against him. But yet this man, with all that popularity and with all of that wealth, committed suicide by hanging himself. It's just amazing. There's a man that maybe some of you are not familiar with. His name is Kurt Cobain, and he was a musician, famous, very famous musician, and had wealth, popularity, value. You'd think he had everything in the world. He'd be the happiest man in the world, but he shot himself in the head, committed suicide. You can't help but forget about old Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt. I mean, this woman had everything, yet she killed herself because of a love relationship that went sour. And you know what some say, historians say, that she had a snake bite her. That's bad. So folks, prosperity does not begin with the outside. Believe me, it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make you fulfilled. You could have tons of money, and yet your soul, the man on the inside, shrivels up and he's miserable. More money does not make you happy. Possessions does not make you fulfilled or content. Now I love new things. A new car, man, there ain't nothing like a new car. You get in that thing and you just smell it and you go down the road. But can I tell you, that new car does not change you. You get cut off of traffic, your anger still explodes. You yell at people because they cut you off. And then, oh man, it's going to happen. You get your first dent. You get the scratch on it. The car smell goes away. Possessions, I think they're kind of like a, what would it be? It's like, I'm trying to find a word. I'm sorry. It makes you feel good for a brief moment of time, but then it wears off. It's almost like people get involved with drugs. See, because we're trying to find prosperity on the outside, and it is not on the outside. It begins on the inside. So it begins in this realm called the soul, that you prosper, be in health, as your soul prospers. The prosperity of your soul. Your soul is going to be rich. I'm going to teach you and share with you things that I've not only discovered in the Bible and in the lives of others, but my own life personally. All of that, I want to help you. Now, you don't have to believe me, that's fine, but let me help you cause your soul to prosper. My soul prospers. It isn't arrived. I haven't made it to the top. There's others that know just as much and more than I do. I'm not the king of all of this, but I've discovered some things, and it's the prosperity of the soul. Matter of fact, that verse I read about be in health and prosper as your soul prospers, I saw that verse, I would have to say 30 years ago, and it did something to me. And I didn't hear it in church. I saw it, and I don't know, I think I was talking with some fellows, and it was at a picnic, and it was in Denver, Colorado. And I was with my good friend Ron Simpkins, and he had a group of people having a barbecue at his house, and someone mentioned that scripture, and it hit me as the prosperity of my soul. I will prosper on the outside as well as the inside. And this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to have. There's also a verse that I would say 7 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I can't remember the exact time, but maybe a little bit longer. I want to read it to you. It's in Romans chapter 13, verse 8. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loves another has fulfilled the law. Owe no man anything. Now, for a long time, I would spin that verse. You know what I mean? Make it say what I want it to say. Make it say something that is comfortable to me. So many times, folks, we only listen to things that make us comfortable. That's why to sit down and write a budget, it may not make me comfortable. But your soul has to prosper by not spinning things but let it say what it says. Oh, no man anything. I used to think, well, I've got a mortgage payment, a car payment, but I don't owe them. I'm not behind in my payments. See, I spun it. As long as I kept current with my payments, I was okay. Well, I was still a slave. And the truth of the matter was, it would make me worried because I would worry about the future then, man. Am I going to have enough money for this house payment? If I don't, I'm going to have to live with my sister or one of my children. Well, man, what am I going to do? So, you see, oh, no man anything, I had to take it for what it says. Don't be in debt. So, okay, the Lord gave us that verse. God said that. It's really a commandment. It doesn't say, if you feel good, be good to be good. It's not an option. It's not a suggestion. Oh, no man anything. So I took that. I said, Lord, that's a commandment. And I know that you will give me the power to be obedient to that commandment. So I began to go after it. I began to believe for it. I began to ask the Lord for my soul to prosper. So folks, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do this, and just like if you were in a physical situation, you want to work out a little bit, and you're going to push the weights or run the laps or walk your steps, we're going to prosper the soul. So until next time, dream. Between now and the next time, dream big. Dream that you have no debt. And if you really get into that dream, man, your muscles begin to loosen up, the worry begins to float away, and you begin to say, man, would that not be nice? Well, let's believe for that miracle. God bless you, folks.